Okay, it's time to replace the old non-operational garage door opener. I'm How To Bob, and here is how I go about doing that. You can see I have an old Craftsman 1/2 horsepower chain drive garage door opener here. It's been up there for many years of service, and it has stopped working. I'm going to start out by closing the garage door using the emergency release rope. And once I get that closed, I'm going to unplug the garage door opener and start taking it apart. I'm going to start out by removing the door arm from the door. Then I'm going to go to the opener itself and remove all of the wires. There's 2 wires for the button and then 2 wires for each safety beam. So once I get all the wires removed, I'm going to move over to the header right above the garage door, and I'm going to remove the ring fastener. And next I'm going to remove the Clevis pin that holds the rail to my bracket here. Now, to help pull this Clevis pin out, I'm going to wiggle the rail back and forth until I get the Clevis pin out. And once I get that out, I can take the rail out of the header bracket, and I'll just set it up on the torsion spring for now. Next, I'm going to move over to the garage door opener, and I'm going to remove the 2 bolts that are holding the garage door opener to the brackets. First, I'm going to just take the nuts, and I'll loosen the first one up and then take the second one off. That way I can have the first one still holding the garage door opener up while I'm taking the second one off. Then I'll remove the first nut and remove the bolt and come back to the second one and slowly set it down onto the ladder that I've positioned right below my garage door opener. And then I can climb down off my ladder. You can see it's still up on the torsion spring, and you want to keep that up against there so you don't hit the garage door. Now I can climb down off my ladder and slowly let the garage door opener down to the ground. Now at this point I can remove the whole garage door opener and the rail system and set it on the floor and get that out of the way. I've got my new garage door opener. It's a Chamberlain 1/2 horsepower belt drive. So I'll start out by getting my rail system, and you can see the one piece is marked here. That'll be the part where the pulley goes, and these all just slide right together. You'll notice a little slot in the one end, and that is where the pulley goes. Found it easier to take these and tap them together lightly with a hammer. A couple sections put together, and then the last section, since it's so long, I'll have to set it on the ground, and I'll put my foot on the one section and tap it together that way. To get all the pieces of my railing together, I want to find my U bracket. It looks like this, and that's going to go in the end that goes by the motor. So I want to tap that in, and I like to use the empty box to set my rail on. It sets up the height real nice, so I can line up these 2 screws here, and they have to be removed from the opener. And I'll take my rail system and line it up with the 2 holes where the 2 screws that I just removed came out of. And I'll get those lined up and put them in by hand first. Once I get them started, I can go ahead and tighten both of those down till they're snug. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is measure the distance between the 2 rails here. This is my old opener, and it measures in at 9 3/4. My new opener is 9 3/4, so looks like I'm good to use the same hanging brackets. So I'll start out by putting the stop bolt in. This stops the trolley from going and crashing into the garage door opener. Just gets tightened down in the rail. You don't want to tighten it too tight to smash the rail or anything. And then I'm going to get my trolley here, and you can see it unlocks and locks. I want it to be in the locked position when I put it on, facing backward, and I'll slide it all the way back. And what I typically do is take a Phillips screwdriver and put it in one of the holes back here just to keep it from sliding forward and getting in the way. Next, I'm going to get my belt, and with the teeth facing toward the opener, I'll get the pulley and take all the packaging off the pulley here, and I'll slide it in the slot on the rails, and the teeth should be facing the pulley. Then I've got a shoulder bolt here that goes in the middle of the pulley, and I'll put that through, put the lock washer on, and then I can put the nut on the bottom side of the pulley and tighten it up. Now when I tighten this up, I don't want to tighten it too tight. I just want to make sure that I engage the lock washer. Then I'm going to take my belt and make sure that I have it facing the correct way. The pulley still spins good, so I can pull my belt all the way down to the trolley. And I want to hook the end of the belt into the retaining slot on the trolley. So now I've got my belt all the way in. I want to make sure that there's no twists in the belt, so I want to run that all the way back around, back to the opener, and around the sprocket on the end here, making sure the teeth are lined up and there's no twist in the belt. I've got my belt here, and it looks like it's a little bit shy, but that's where we come in with the threaded shaft. It comes with a spring trolley nut on it, and that goes onto a chain link here. So you put the master link on the chain, and then you take the retaining clip and snap it into place. I'm going to use the needle nose pliers here, push it into place like so. Next, I'm going to remove the spring trolley nut assembly, and that all comes off in one unit. Once I get the trolley nut assembly off, I can put this threaded shaft into the trolley and put the trolley nut spring assembly on there. And I want to get this as tight as I can go with my hand. I don't want to use any tools on this. And I'll pull the trolley one way or the other just to get things as tight as I can with my hand. You can see the belt on the opposite side getting a little tighter, and I'll pull that up periodically just to make sure that it is as tight as it needs to be and where it needs to be. Make sure there's no twist in it. And there we go. We've got it pretty tight now, and can't get it much more tight. So once I get it that tight, I'll take the screwdriver, put it in the slot here, and take a wrench and release the spring. You can see it pop loose here, and that'll get you the perfect tension on your belt. So now that my garage door opener is all the way assembled, I need to get my brackets in place. First, I'm going to take off the old header bracket here, and I have my new one that came with the new garage door opener. I'm going to mark the holes where I will be drilling next. It came with 4 screws to hold this header bracket into place. So I'll pre-drill all 4 spots that I marked, and then I'll put my header bracket up and screw it into my header right above the garage door opener. So I've got 4 screws, and they're all tightened in there real good. So my next step is to get the garage door in position and raise it up to the header bracket. And I'll put the Clevis pin in place. Once I get this lined up, you can see it has just a hole in there for the retaining clip. So I slide that through, and then I come in with my retaining ring and put that on there, and it's locked into place. Now I'm going to raise the garage door opener up to my hanging rails, and a little bit of adjustment, and they line right up. So then I can use my nuts and bolts to put my opener in. I'm going to use some lock washers and then put a nut on the end of the bolt. Just get that on there real loose, and then go to the other side and put my lock washer on, and then put the nut on that side as well. Once I get both of them on there by hand, I can then come back in with my socket and tighten things down a bit. Make sure everything's snugged up nice and tight. Then I want to go to the other side and tighten that one up as well. Once I get that tightened up, I'm going to attach the emergency release rope to the handle. First, I'm going to tie a little knot in the end. Then I'll slide the rope through the handle, and then I'll climb up and put the rope into the hole on the trolley and tie another knot in the end and make sure everything's nice and tight. and then it releases the trolley. Now I can remove my screwdriver from the trolley and put my light bulbs into my new garage door opener. Next, I'm going to install the door bracket, and it looks like the previous garage door opener had an angle iron on there. I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to put the new door bracket on here that came with the kit. Comes with 2 screws to screw this to the garage door. I've taken out 2 from my angle iron from the previous garage door opener, so I'm going to use 4 screws. It only comes with 2, but I'm going to use the 2 that were in the previous install. That way I'll have extra security. If you feel like you need a couple extra screws, you can get some self-tapping or self-drilling screws. It came with 2 self-tapping screws. This is a self-drilling screw, so I didn't pre-drill the sides here. And that'll just give me a little extra strength. You don't have to put those in, but I'm going to go ahead and do that since I have them. Now the next thing I'm going to do is connect the arm to the trolley, and that's just putting a Clevis pin through and then putting a retaining ring on the Clevis pin. Then I'm going to release the trolley by pulling on the rope and slide it down to where it meets the garage door. Once I get to that position, I can take the second part of the arm and connect it to the garage door bracket that I just installed with the Clevis pin, and then put a retaining ring on that Clevis pin to secure it in position. Now I want to put the 2 pieces together, and I want to use the bolt patterns that are the furthest apart. So I've got one here, and I'll put the bolt through, a lock washer, and then a nut. And then you can see I've got the other one here where I put a bolt, lock washer, and a nut, and they're the furthest 2 holes apart, and they seem to be lined up very well, so I can go ahead and tighten those down now. Next, I'm going to lock the trolley lock into position by pulling it back, and then open the garage door until the trolley locks in to the opener, and it should click into place. There we go. Now I need to install the garage door opener button. Luckily, I have wires in place. They ran through the ceiling, so I'm just going to reuse those wires. They're in good shape. This garage door opener came with new wires, but these will work just fine for me. There's a red and a white one and a white one. So I just connect those to their designated place. Put the wire through the little cutout here, and it'll fit right on the screw that's in the wall. And then I can lift up the tab and screw the top in. There's a nice piece of wood here that I can screw that into, and I have my garage door opener button in place. Next, I'm going to head back over to the garage door opener, and you'll see the wiring terminal here. The one on the left is the red. That's where the red/white wire goes, and the one next to it is where the plain white wire goes. And that'll get my button wired up, make sure they're in there good and tight. Then I'm going to go down and take out the old sensors, or the old protector system that came with the old Craftsman garage door, and I'm going to install the new brackets. The recommended height is 6 inches from the ground, so I'm going to start there and I'll adjust accordingly. I'll take my new sensors here and put the carriage bolt in, and then a wing nut will attach that to my new bracket. Then I'll run the wire up to the center rail of the garage door opener, and I'll move over to the other side of the garage door, and I'll remove the other sensor and install the new bracket. And again, just to get me started, I'm going to measure 6 inches and make the adjustments now. May have to come back to adjust the eyes to make sure that they do see each other, but this will get a good start here. I'm going to put my carriage bolt in, my sensor, and use a wing nut to attach it to the bracket. Next, I'm going to run the wires all the way over to the garage door opener. I'll have them meet in the center of the garage door, right above the header, and staple them onto the ceiling and up the wall until I get to the garage door opener. So now I'm going to go to the garage door opener, and I've got my wires here. I'm going to strip back 7/16 of an inch of wire, and then I will twist the 2 sets of wires together. I'll have a white set of wires and a white with a black line on it. You can see the black line on that one and the black line right here. So I'll put those two together and twist them together. Then I will insert them into the wire terminal in the correct spot. There's a white and a gray. The white wire goes into the white, and the gray will be the white wire with the black line. And I'll push that down with my screwdriver, and they're spring loaded. Everything's in there good and looks tight. So my next step is to put on the sprocket cap. Now I should have done this when it was on the ground, but I was too excited to put the garage door opener up. So here I am putting the sprocket cap on. So if you haven't already put your garage door opener up yet, you can do this part on the ground. You don't have to do it on the ladder. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and plug my garage door opener in. My sensors line up, so I'm going to start programming my garage door opener. Press the center button until the up arrow lights up. Then I'm going to hold the up arrow until the garage door opens to the position I want it to stop. So you can see the trolley coming up, catches the garage door, and I want it to go a little bit further, so I'll hit it a little bit more, and there you go. So now I'm going to hit the center button again, and I get a flash from the garage door opener, and I'm going to hit the down arrow until the garage door goes as far as I want it to go. Once it hits that position, I let go of the arrow, and it should be good. So then I hit the center button again, and I get a flash. Now I can hit the up arrow, and it'll go to my previously programmed spot. Wait and see where this ends up. It should come all the way up to right about here and stop. That's good. Then I can hit down arrow, and it should go down all the way until it hits the ground and stop. So now I've got my garage door programmed and installed. So that's how you install a Chamberlain garage door opener. I'm How To Bob. Thanks for watching.